What up, Internet?
Hi there, camera.
It's time for some Japan wrap-up.
We wanted to make a little bit of a in-conclusion type video. Gabby lives about 6 hours away from us, so we sent her a bunch of questions to answer, and we've answered the same questions. So we're gonna kind of, I guess, compare what our responses are to different aspects of our trip.
Question 1. Favorite meal or Japanese food?
Shall I read Gabby's answer first?
Yeah, go for it.
Favorite meal would have to be when we went for sushi in Osaka. I liked that one better than the train sushi, which was awesome in its own right, don't get me wrong. I also really enjoyed the warm taiyaki too. Street food was delicious, and I have a sweet tooth, so I love their pastry, shaped like fish. Yeah, the taiyaki was really good. I don't really have a sweet tooth, so that didn't make my list. I'd have to say that my favorite food from this trip was the buckwheat soba we had in outside of Togokushi Shrine in Nagano, because it was warm and delightful, and the sake I had alongside it was creamy and amazing, and it was just warm and perfect after hiking in the snow for hours. Also, I think my favorite Japanese food of all time is okonomiyaki, but we didn't really have the amazing okonomiyaki experience like we did in Hiroshima on this trip.
Sushi was amazing. It's one of my favorite foods ever, so I really liked it every time we stopped for sushi. Also, okonomiyaki overall is probably my favorite food, but yeah, we didn't have any amazing okonomiyaki this time around. I found myself chasing the memory of the yakisoba we had in 2014 when we went to Japan, but we didn't have any yakisoba this time around.
No.
But the soba meal we did have in Nagano, Snowy Mountains, that was probably the fanciest.
Yeah. So
All right.
question number 2.
Favorite location?
There was something special about Nagano. I think it's because the urban area felt big enough to get that neon sign, crazy arcade vibes that one would imagine from Japan, mixed with the beauty and peacefulness of the mountainside. The Togokushi Shrine was something else. We walked down the snowy forest, and that felt absolutely magical. Nagano going to Togokushi is definitely my top memory from this trip. I also really enjoyed in Nikko, basically the first full day we were in Japan. We just went and explored the off-the-beaten-track shrines, and we found one that was way up and like off on a wooded path in the mountains that we basically had to ourselves.
Nagano was my favorite city. The Snowy Mountain stands out as perhaps the most magical location we visited. But for variety's sake, how about we show a clip of Shinsekai, because that was awesome too.
Question number 3 was just, what was your best memory? So Gabby says, it's hard to say, I had a lot of good times. There was a moment in Kyoto when we left the bamboo forest and walked down to the river. There were cherry blossoms falling down and a light trickle of rain. It was breathtakingly beautiful and quiet. The serenity following the business of all the tourists around the bamboo forest was a stark contrast, and I appreciated the moment even more. On a completely different vibe, that first time we went to an arcade, Nagano I think, was so much fun. Also, who could ever forget about the amazing restaurant with the die-hard Adam Lambert fan?
What do you want from me? What do you want from me?
Lambert, sorry. Who also happened to be the nicest lady ever. I still laugh when I think about it. It's her most unique experience. I feel like Lambert lady takes the cake. Because I've been to Japan a few more times, just something really different about this trip was when we stumbled upon the Sakura Park between Shibuya and Harajuku. It was just filled with white sakura, and we stopped in a 7-Eleven and we got a drink, and we just kind of goofed around and hung out under the trees and took pictures and video and watched the Instagrammers be Instagrammy. And yeah, that to me was magical because it was something totally different that I hadn't done in Japan before.
One of the best memories I have is just when we were hiking through all the temples in Nikko, and it was really cold, and there was this one little bridge where we all sat on, and the sun just happened to be peeking through the trees.
Yeah.
And it really warmed us up. That's high up there. I'm not sure that's number 1. I really enjoyed drinking beers on the street under the Glico Man in Osaka.
Yeah, me too.
That was a great time, watching the boats go by.
The sketchiest thing I've ever done in Japan. There's like garbage there, and it seems very like hoodlummy. I don't know.
That's true. If I have to pick, and I do, because that's the nature of this episode, favorite memory is going to have to be when Gabby's butt was destroyed by an angry stabby deer. What a marvelous... Yeah. How did the trip compare to our expectations?
Well, considering that Gabby hadn't been to Japan before, I think her answer is the most intriguing of the bunch. She says, it was better than I expected, if that's possible. To be fair, I've never taken a huge trip like this before, and I'm so glad I did. With my little baby boy coming in the next couple of weeks, I'm even more grateful that I went with you guys. Who knows when I'll be able to take a trip like that again. Well, I hope we didn't ruin the experience completely. I didn't expect so many blossoms. I guess that's something that kind of exceeded my expectations. We didn't initially really think we were going to hit peak blossoms in Tokyo, and that was really surprising to me. Also something that I thought was super, like, expectations versus reality was like, it was way cooler than I expected.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared for that.
I had planned to play a couple open mics, and neither of those happened. So that was another letdown of expectation versus reality. All of the temples and shrines, you always expect them to be very amazing and engaging, and somehow they're far better in person than you could ever imagine.
I don't think I'll ever get temple fatigue. I hear people saying that, but I can go to temples forever, all day, everywhere, and I'll gladly go to more.
Yeah.
So question number 5 doesn't really apply to us so much. We asked Gabby, what was it like having us film the trip and then post it online? I felt kind of awkward when you guys were filming because I'm silly and shy, but watching the videos is nothing but a positive experience. It's so amazing being able to relive the trip through the footage you guys took. I have a terrible memory, so it makes me glad to have something to be able to watch over again and help me remember. Number 6. What did you find the most culturally shocking? Gabby wrote, how clean everything was. I guess it says something about our society, but it was honestly incredibly jarring being able to go to a public restroom in a park and find it absolutely spotless. There was almost no litter anywhere, despite the somewhat annoying lack of trash bins. Speaking of which, the sorting system for trash took me for a loop as well. I was sometimes nervous throwing something away because I wasn't sure what they meant by burnable.
We were trying to go into a shop to buy some alcohol, and sometimes it's unclear as to like what hours are and things, but we opened the door, we walked in, and we looked around, and the place was seemingly abandoned and nobody was there, but all the wares were out, and eventually we were like, oh, maybe they're not open, and we left. But you don't come across that in the West, really.
That would never fly in Canada. I mean, I've been to Japan now 4 times, so it's a bit more of a stretch. But I was just shocked by the sheer volume of snow. Even though we were there in April, late March, early April, the snow in Nagano in the mountains was still so high that they had all the trails closed and we had to walk down the road.
The next question is, what did you think the best accommodation was?
Ooh, I think we're all in agreement. Gabby wrote, gosh, I wish I remembered where this was. A couple of nights we spent in the more traditional Airbnb. It had a little sitting area where we had the challenge and drank those craft beers we bought in Nagano, which, by the way, the mic not working made it content that is not on any of these videos, sadly. I love that, one of the best, because if you're going to Japan, of course, I want to spend at least one night in a traditional setting. Also, may I add, the capsule hotel was surprisingly roomy and comfortable. It was a lovely surprise.
It's very comfy.
I think we all 100% agree that Nagano's accommodation was amazing. Airbnb, traditional, the guy that was hosting us was incredible. No argument.
Yeah, everything about that
Next
place is
question.
great.
What thing about Japan do you wish that we had in Canada? Gabby says, you mean aside from the giant buildings filled from top to bottom with stores filled with anime merchandise and manga? Those fantastic toilets. I mean, heated seats, bidet, music, and the lights. I can't stop thinking about them. We live like savages here, I swear. I would love to have katatsus here.
Oh, yeah.
Heated table. We have basically the same climate as Japan. We need katatsus in Canada. Also, I really, really wish that Canada would adopt the you can have a beer in a park. What the heck, Canada?
Yeah. We could use everything. I guess I just want to live in Japan.
Yeah.
I mean, manners cleanliness.
So one thing you'd bring back from Japan is just Japan.
Yeah.
Favorite souvenir?
Ooh.
For sentimental value, I absolutely love those Kamakura pictures. They were so much fun and it was just a great souvenir. For me being a weirdo though, I'm so in love with those snail gachapons. Heck, I went out of my way by myself after the Junji Ito exhibit to go to the subway station where they were to try to get more. They're so unique and amazingly bizarre. I wish I could have gotten the whole collection, but alas, I'm happy with the ones I managed to get.
This particular trip, I really stocked up on Super Famicom games, which you can easily play in a Super Nintendo in the West as long as you bust out some little pegs. So I brought home something like 16 Super Famicom games.
My favorite souvenir I actually have here to show you. This awesome book we got at the Ghibli Museum. They play on a rotating basis different short animated films. You can only see them at Studio Ghibli. But I've never seen the one about May and the Cat Bus, so I bought the little art book for like $5, I think, that has the story of May and the Cat Bus, and it's magical and an awesome souvenir. And also, the first time I went with you to Japan, I saw this mug, and I've been thinking about it ever since 2014. So I finally got it, and it's an amazing souvenir. I guess the last question isn't so much a question as a wrap-up thing. Is there anything else you'd like to add in conclusion? She said, it was a 2-week trip that easily could have been 2 months, and I still feel like there's so much more to see. It's an incredible country, and I would love to return one day. It was especially more fun with you two. In conclusion, I'm really excited to revisit. We do have a trip or a flight booked to see Japan in the middle of winter and go north and go to ryokans and see the really snowy side of Japan. Whether or not that'll actually materialize, we are unsure right now.
We're, right smack dab in the middle of a pandemic. Hard to gauge whether that's realistic or just utter fantasy. Japan's my favorite country on earth, hands down, bar none. The absolute best. I will never feel like I don't need to go there again. I always need to go there again.
There's going to be some content coming from Taiwan, which is kind of an amazing combination of Southeast Asia meets Japan. So we're excited
are excited to share with you.
Share with you guys that. I hope we'll see you in the next Taiwan video.
Yeah. Give it a thumbs up. Leave some comments. Catch you next time. Peace out.
Take luck.